I think Don Waddell recognizes that he doesn't need to just bank picks and take prospects with those picks now because their roster is pretty full of guys 24 and under that can really play and look like they're going to be future difference makers.
Aaron Portzline from The Athletic has covered the Blue Jackets forever. Best in the biz. Thank you for joining us, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be with you.
We want to have you on to, Pete specifically was like, let's get Portzline and talk about all the Jiricek stuff. From the Blue Jackets perspective, should they be be worried about this? Because my thought on it is 3 head coaches and now 2 general managers essentially have looked at this guy and have said, you know what, we don't need to give this guy everything we want. They move on from him. They get a huge haul. Should they be nervous about what they just did?
Well, I mean, I do think there's a chance that Jiricek figures out or cleans up his skating, puts in the work. It may be work. It may not be work. I mean, it may be something he can fix. I'm not smart enough to know if the issues he has, changing directions, moving laterally, if that can be fixed for him. There's always a chance the guy gets it together and explodes, and in which case, you'll regret this for a while, depending upon what you flip the other assets to that you got in return. I think you're right, though. You get a new general manager, and right like that, you've got a fresh set of eyes on a player, and that fresh set of eyes does not need that draft pick to work out well to paint him in a good light, right? So it's a pure evaluation. I don't think the Blue Jackets looked at Jiricek and said, he's never going to figure it out. Let's trade at a high point here before the word really gets out. I don't think they were there necessarily, but the player has said for 2 years now that he believes he's NHL ready. His representation has believed that he's NHL ready, and he just had to watch him play to realize, especially in Dean Evason's system, I think that really sort of exacerbated things. The skating is not there right now to play. I've seen guys, Cole Sillinger in year 2 looked like he wasn't a very good skater. He gets some confidence. He starts to adapt to the system, learn the system. Nobody complains about his skating now. He's put in the work too, it should be said. So it can happen. I'm not smart enough to look at Jiricek and say that's not fixable. That is, whatever. So there is a chance, but to me, the trade was a necessary step for both parties because it had reached the point here where they just philosophically disagreed on major issues, whether or not he's ready to play in the NHL.
So you absolutely would have done that trade if you were the Blue Jackets, just like give them what they got?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing we can say here is when they first got into trade talks, the desire was prospect for prospect. Like, you give us your Jiricek, we'll give you our Jiricek. You give us your top 10 bona fide guy coming back. And you can tell by the trade that the Blue Jackets made that all of those offers were not doing that. Like, we're not going there, which to me tells you something. The Wild, I'm a little surprised the Wild parted with their first round pick. Again, nothing against Jiricek, but on a player who doesn't 100% give you immediate roster bump. To me, I thought they would hold on to that pick until March, the trade deadline. And if they're willing to move it, which obviously they were, add that for a big piece in your lineup, bona fide lineup piece today. So that surprised me a little bit, but that tells you how highly they think of him. I think the Blue Jackets like Hunt. I think they love the first round pick. I think they really like the second round pick. And I would be surprised if the Blue Jackets walked to the podium for all of 4 of those picks. My sense is that those are going to be used to flip for other things in the upcoming summer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, if there was any sense that those would be flipped, especially Don Waddell. We talked about it yesterday. Don Waddell in Carolina sometimes was a little bit forced to take more of those picks to the stage than maybe he wanted.
13 in 2021, 12 in 2019. And you made the point, though, you were like, well,
ownership in Carolina doesn't particularly love spending money or committing big dollars to establish players. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, do you have any sense of a willingness to kind of expedite things in Columbus based off of how well the season has gone relative to expectation?
Well, so this is an information gathering season for Don Waddell. I think early returns are that they're further along than many would have expected. Really, it would be worrying if the young players that are off to such good starts weren't starting to get it together, because for many of them, this is the second or third crack at it. Chinikov has played much better this year, still looking for consistency, but is a dynamic player. Marchenko has added elements to his game that they've asked him to. You expect that by year 3 of a guy in the league. Voronkov dropped probably 15 pounds in the offseason, still a massive human being, but has soft hands and has kept pace on the top line. Fantilli is frustrated as hell right now that he's not scoring more. He had 2 goals the last game out, but I think had gone 13 games before that without a goal. He's frustrated. The team is not in any way frustrated. Fantilli's playing almost 17 minutes a night as a second-line center. That's almost unheard of for a 20-year-old and a 21-year-old in the NHL. He's there. It's a matter of time before the offense follows, in my opinion. And Kent Johnson has been an absolute revelation. It has all clicked. I think he's played 9 games at 12 points, something like that. Werenski's been a stud, but you expect that. He's been an elevated stud from where he usually is. I think Don Waddell recognizes that he doesn't need to just bank picks and take prospects with those picks now, because their roster is pretty full of guys 24 and under that can really play and look like they're going to be future difference makers. So I think he can be creative. He also has a ton of cap space, and I think he wants to be creative. The other element here is I think Don Waddell is absolutely liberated to be in an organization where the ownership says to the general manager, you do what you got to do. Come to us with big moves. Don't let us read things in the paper or on that goddamn Athletic before you tell us about them. But have at it. You're the general manager. And the sense in Raleigh is always that I like to say they couldn't order paper clips for the office without having some sort of committee together. There were just so many hands in things. And Don Waddell is clearly the boss here. And I think he's going to make big moves this offseason.
Another thing that makes them so interesting, though, as a potential buyer is, are they even done consolidating their young guys? Because in addition to what they have right now, so many young players on the roster. They got Matejchuk on the way, who looks awesome in the AHL right now. They've got Caden Lindstrom on the way, who is just a very high draft pick for them. So there's no shortage of young guys they have already. Pete and I were talking off the air about, like, what's Cole Sillinger's future? He's 4th on the team in points right now, but maybe if they're trying to make a move and they want to consolidate their young guys, get a little more veteran help, they've got so many young players that other teams should want.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. It's hard for me to look at a player like Sillinger, a centerman. This franchise has been so devoid of center depth, center talent for almost their entire existence. They're in a spot now with Monahan as the number 1. Fantilli is the number 2. Sillinger is the 3. And as this progresses, I think you can easily see Fantilli in the 1 spot, Monahan in the 2, and Sillinger's a really good 3. So the centers, I think, are really hard to move. As you mentioned, Lindstrom is a high prospect. He has a lot to prove now after having back surgery. Hasn't played in quite a while, so he's probably a year, maybe a couple of years away from the NHL. I think that's probably the safe way to look at it. They also have a guy who's having a really good season, second-year pro in Cleveland, named Luca Del Bel Beluz, who's putting up points, big points. I think he leads the team in goals. So it's there. I think he will. I think Don Waddell is not afraid to be aggressive, and Blue Jackets fans maybe should prepare for one of these young guys to be part of a package. But I also think he recognizes he's in a pretty good spot here. I mean, Marchenko is, I think he's plus 16 and a point a game guy playing next to Monahan. Like this is the math we've not done very often in Columbus, you know? So let it ride and see where you're at.
Where does the team stand, and I guess where does Elvis Merzlikins stand on the team? Because we've made a lot of jokes about the Elvis situation in Columbus and kind of how volatile it is.
We're Jet Greaves guys, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's going to be interesting this off season. Greaves has a one-way NHL contract next year. Now that certainly doesn't, you know, mean he has to be in the NHL, but it's highly likely. Elvis has been really, really good this year. His numbers are better for him, average for everybody else. But he is on the uptick. He's made a lot of clutch saves for them. It's a team learning this new system. Still a lot of young guys in the lineup. They've given up a lot of high danger chances, especially early. He's been a success story, though. I think the room has, without saying it, has sort of been told and agreed to give him a fresh start this year. I think he's one of the guys that's been helped most by the fresh start. Dean Evason doesn't play around with guys, does not send mixed signals, does not mess around, doesn't play head games. And when Elvis lost a shutout it was under a minute, maybe 20 seconds to go, and turned around and shattered his stick on the goalpost, Evason wanted to talk about how unacceptable that was after the game, even though they won. Had a talk with Elvis about it. Like, he has really tried to steer him. And I do think the relationship with Elvis in the room has improved. I think Elvis deserves a lot of credit for that, because I do think he's tried to dial it back. Some of this is just who Elvis is. Like, you saw him come out of the crease the other day against Calgary, fist flying, after he got jabbed in the hinterlands region of the male anatomy. And Dean Evason didn't have a problem with that. But Elvis is always going to be sort of reactionary, impulsive. Hey, guys, for us, he's an unbelievable quote. But I do think there's been tangible growth both on the ice and in the room so far this season.
All three of our 401ks are just all on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, we've invested so much in them being great in the coming seasons. I'll say, as you say all that, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for there to not be an Elvis Merzlikins part of that whole thing. I'm not an Elvis Merzlikins fan. I'll be straight up about that, but I do like that there is at least one person on that team that is more than a bit of a shit.
We do like the goalie with a knife too. So
Yes.
it's nice that there's more than one of those guys. Would you say that, like, the biggest kind of found money for the Blue Jackets has been Dean Evason? Because, like, the coaching situation last year seemed like a bit of a mess, obviously. And obviously a lot of stuff has happened in Columbus with Johnny Gaudreau and just kind of how unfortunate that was. And now, like, they're one of the best stories in the NHL this year. And it seems like Evason is kind of spearheading that whole thing.
Yeah, he has been huge for them, and I think that you look at that in a couple of different ways. The players, when speaking to Don Waddell, the veteran players, that is, about what transpired, what they felt the room needed, without saying it, they kind of wanted a John Tortorella type. Careful, not all that you get with John Tortorella, but the hard-driven, high standards. Nothing is allowed to pass without being corrected. They wanted a driver. They wanted somebody that could put fear within the players and not be intimidated by some of the players in the room, which I don't think they felt was the case in the past. So they wanted this. And Evison is tough. He can be demanding, but there's clearly a softer side there too. Like the system works with Werenski on the back with their mobile D. Christensen's found a spot in Columbus now where he'd never had before. But then, think of these guys. Waddell barely knows anybody in the room. Evison barely knows anybody in the room. And then the tragedy strikes with Gaudreau. And the way those guys stepped up, and they gave the players space, but they also directed them towards a certain approach to all of this. And Dean Evison says it every time he's asked: be open with your emotions. If you feel like you need to cry, cry. If you feel like you need to scream, scream. If you want to break something, break something. This incredible, unfathomable tragedy has really galvanized them. I think Dean Evison has helped make that so have the leaders in the room. But it's been really beautiful to watch this team sort of guide their way through this and speak really openly about Johnny Gaudreau. They've maintained a relationship with Meredith Gaudreau. Sean Monahan has been a huge part of that. And it just feels really healthy. There's still room for grief. No one's acting like the tragedy didn't happen. And you don't really move on from something. I hate that phrase when people talk about moving on from after a tragedy strikes. You sort of carry it with you, but you learn how to carry it with you. And I think that's what they've done. Evison's been a big part of that. He think about how the Wild played under him. They kind of played as a team as Dean Evison played as an individual during his career. And the Blue Jackets, if you've noticed here recently, you've got Christensen fighting, Werenski fighting. Of course, you've got Olivier fighting. Loves it. But they're starting to be a more difficult team to play against too. And that is something I think you're going to see develop as it moves along. But Dean Evison's should be getting mentioned if this continues as a Coach of the Year candidate.
Well, tonight will definitely be one of the heavier moments of the season for them in Calgary. That's just with Monahan there and all the Johnny Gaudreau stuff. And we saw Guy on the ice with the Flames just the other day. That's going to be intense. But yeah, the way that they've gotten through this and the way that Sean Monahan, who at various points in his career has either been there for a little bit or has been working through injury, that he has been like really a touchstone for everybody is unbelievable. Like that there's no more likable situation right now than the Columbus Blue Jackets. Right. They do have a gauntlet coming up though. After the Flames, at Oilers, at Canucks, at Jets. Boy, oh boy, that stinks. But if they get through it, things will be amazing for them. Smooth sailing.
And to keep in mind, this is their second 5-gamer of the season. First one was, I'm going to mess this up, but San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Seattle. There's another one in there that I forgot right at the beginning.
San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Seattle began with the Vegas. Metropolitan leading, I believe, Washington Capitals.
That's right. They went 0-4-1 on that trip.
Yeah, that'll happen.
You know what I'm saying? So this is a second crack at that, and it's off to. They've already had more points on this trip. They won in Chicago the other night than they did on that trip. So off to a good start, but yes, a big challenge ahead.
All right. Well, you are the best, Aaron. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to be at the Stadium Series. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. We've had that circled forever. We're pumped for that, and we're pumped to see Zach Werenski seemingly, probably, likely dominate Team USA
and win the
USA.
Norris.
What's that?
And win the Norris.
Yes, and win the Norris. Yes. All great things ahead for the Blue Jackets. We appreciate you. We'll see you down the road. Thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, Aaron Portzline. You can read him in The Athletic.
We all silly like the mayor.
it just became so clear, kind of like how once the Oilers got rolling, where it was like, okay, let's skip to the part where it's Oilers and Panthers in the Cup final. And as this series went on, unfortunately for Oilers fans, it became, okay, let's skip to the part where they're doing their fucking thing and throwing the rats. Panthers are Stanley Cup champions, back to back. They do it with a slightly different cast, a souped up version. Add Brad Marchand, add Seth Jones, and back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, and I mean, they put a real exclamation point at the end of this run, huh? I mean, if you had any question as to who the best team in the NHL was this season, I think you got the best two in the Stanley Cup final. That was clear when we headed in, right? We said that. We said, if there's anything that we've learned through the playoffs, through 3 rounds, the best team in each conference emphatically meeting here in the final for the second straight year. And I think at the end of 6 games here, we can say that the Florida Panthers in a completely different league of their own this season.
Yeah, and that's why. I'm an Oilers fan, obviously, and I'm sad that they lost, and I wish that they lost, but I'm not doing the like they got boned here or this or whatever. Like the last 2 games, the Panthers were the better team. They didn't have huge mistakes after good stretches. They just kind of shut it down for the last 2 games, and now they're back-to-back Cup champs. You said the best team. I agree. They're also 3rd in the Atlantic this season, and we thought late in the season that they were maybe tanking because they wanted to try to drop into the wild card so they could play Toronto. And Brad Marchand was hurt down the stretch. We didn't know what he was going to be with them, although we thought he would be good. We didn't think that he would be this unbelievable, but we knew they had something, and we knew that Tkachuk was going to be healthy and they were going to go on some sort of run. But even so, I'm impressed, and I am kind of surprised because I thought that Toronto could have beaten them. I didn't think that Tampa was going to beat them in the first round, but I know a hell of a lot of people who did. Like, I would venture to say that they were even a favorite, was Tampa, in that round. Brad Marchand, after the game, was saying to Jackie Redmond, like, hey, everyone kept counting us out and saying that like we weren't going to do it. And I was like, what the fuck is that guy talking about? And I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, there were rounds where people thought that they would win, but once they got rolling, it just became so clear, kind of like how once the Oilers got rolling, where it was like, okay, let's skip to the part where it's Oilers and Panthers in the Cup final. And as this series went on, unfortunately for Oilers fans, it became, okay, let's skip to the part where they're doing their fucking thing and throwing the rats.
Yeah, it was definitely a case of like the longer the playoffs went on, you felt stupider and stupider about like if you had any doubts about the Panthers. And you mentioned finishing 4th in the Eastern Conference in the regular season standings. To me, this really kind of solidifies that the Panthers do not give one damn about the regular season. And it's just that they are built for the playoffs. And as soon as the postseason starts, that's when they go. And like we already kind of knew that to a certain extent. Like they win the President's Trophy 4 years ago and completely shift the identity of their team because they don't think that they can win that way. This is just like another chapter in that story because we didn't see this Florida Panthers team during the regular season.
No.
We saw shades of it at points, but we did not see the team of this caliber, and specifically offensively, the offensive team that you saw down the stretch in these playoffs, like they consistently showed that they could find another gear. And when they really needed to lock in and smother you and really like impose their will on you, they could do it better than any other team in the NHL.
They were so unbelievably deep. And they obviously went up against a team that was really deep in the postseason, but they had 9 players with 15 points this postseason. Evan Rodriguez, Anton Lundell, I'm going up, obviously, Eetu Luostarinen, Brad Marchand, Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe, Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, who ends up leading the team in points because of his 4-point game, or his 4-goal game, I should say, in the clinching one. They were so deep. And we'll talk about a lot on the show, and we have talked a lot about how just getting Brad Marchand was a tragedy for the rest of the NHL that no one quite knew though what it was going to be. And the cost was low, but people were like, hey, he's hurt and maybe he doesn't even end up doing anything for him. Getting a second round pick for that guy ain't so bad. And what's even crazier? It could become a first if he plays enough. Like, gee, wow, cool.
I don't think anybody had that reaction.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they were like, Bruins fans are mad, but like, what did you think you were getting for him when he's hurt? He's not going to play the rest of the regular season. And
not for the prices that other guys were going for at the deadline. This is revisionist history, I think.
No, it's not. It is not. Bruins fans were mad, and people were like, it's a weird nit to pick.
I do think that there was an element of like, well, he's not Brad Marchand.
They were saying like, you might just be getting a free second round pick.
Yeah, maybe. I don't recall that, but I think that for Marchand, this is a crazy rewriting of the narrative around him because he's an aging player on a failing team. And people did wonder what the Panthers were even going to get with Marchand. I think people questioned like the cost of, or was it worth it for the Bruins to deal him at that price? Now you're talking about a guy who's so much richer, so much more solidified in his legacy, a 2-time Cup winner, arguably the Panthers' most important or most impactful player throughout the course of this run. Yeah, Sam Bennett wins Conn Smythe with 15 goals, but I mean, if we're looking back on it, is there a question if the Panthers get out of the second round if it's not for Brad Marchand in the overtime winner that he has in Game 3 against Toronto? Like, this could be a whole different story if it's not for Brad Marchand, and he has a single-handedly a massive impact on multiple Stanley Cup final games. I said it after they won the Cup. He could be single-handedly the best mercenary acquisition in hockey history.
Yeah, I mean, just given what he did for that run, and it probably will be mercenary. He'll be gone. Sam Bennett gets the Conn Smythe, and it's going to be so much harder for him to leave. Actually, I mean, it could be easier for him to leave now because he's like, I've won twice. I've won the Conn Smythe. My stock is never going to be higher. I can cash in, but this should also be a reminder to him of like, I'm never going to be in a better situation than this. No other place I am after this is like, if anything, I stick around, and if the Panthers eventually suck, then I'll do what Brad Marchand just did, which is I'll just get out of there and I'll go to a winning team and I'll try to make a run there. For the Oilers.
Wait, before we do the Oilers, can we talk about the extended window for Florida? Like, what do you think that it looks like? Like,
don't sign Marchand or Ekblad, and you've got a long window. Barkov is still in his prime. Matthew Tkachuk is in his prime. You got to figure out your goaltending situation in a couple of years, but Forsling still in his prime. Your pillars, Seth Jones, they are all there. You're good to go for a long time. I think the unwise and tempting thing to do would be to try to keep everybody and sign everybody. Keep who you think are your pillar pieces and keep cap flexibility.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, like, a big calling card of this team has been their ability to identify low-cost guys or short-term buys on players who maybe have something to prove. And they've proven time and time again that they're very capable of identifying those players and having them make an impact for them, and then not overcommitting to them. And that is what I would recommend against if you're Florida.
Exactly. Don't sign Ekblad. Like, if Marchand's going to come back and give you a deal, great, but right. I don't think that Brad Marchand should be giving anybody a deal. I think that Brad Marchand at this point in his career should be going for top dollar, but I'm not his agent. Maybe he does something else, and maybe he comes back to Florida. Famously, you get to get players for free because of taxes there. Oilers lose back-to-back Cup finals. This one hurts like last year's hurts, but last year's felt like a ride that shouldn't have ended, whereas by the end of this, they were just getting outplayed. They weren't the best team in the series anymore, and they were the best team in the series for a lot of the Stanley Cup final last year against the Panthers. I didn't really get that feeling or sense throughout this. And that's a credit to the Panthers, because against any other team, if something went wrong for the Oilers, the next game or the next shift or the next period, everything went right. And you saw that happen somewhat in game 4. But other than that, there was not that just permanent control of the series that they'd had against everybody else.
Yeah, last year it kind of felt like an accomplishment, the fact that they forced 7 games, but obviously it was disappointing to come up short on what would have been an incredibly historic and storybook cup win. But it was also their first time there, and we say so often, like, you got to lose before you win, and we felt like that was the setup to them, getting it done this year or maybe somewhere else down the line. The loss here is so demoralizing because the Oilers felt like they had so much momentum heading into this cup final. I believe that they were favored heading into this cup final. And for it to become so apparent that you are not the team that the Panthers were. And, we said heading into the final, I think both teams are better this year than they were last year. I don't know if you can confidently say that about the Oilers, but you can definitely say that this Panthers team way better than last year's team. So, like, maybe if you're finding any solace as an Oilers fan, it's that you're coming up against a really, really great team, but at the same time, you found out that you have quite a bit of work to do if you want to compete with that team, if it's going to look anything like that next year.
One thing I'll say is the other team isn't always going to be as good as the Panthers. There's going to be years that the Panthers get knocked out in the second round. So I don't think you need to necessarily do what you're doing based on the Panthers, but they missed Zach Hyman so badly, and Matthias Ekholm coming back presented some good, and they would have been up 2-0 in the series, matter of inches if Corey Perry doesn't get out of the way of Matthias Ekholm's slap shot in overtime. So Matthias Ekholm definitely had good moments, but Matthias Ekholm coming back, I think, ended up accidentally disrupting this unbelievable thing they had on the blue line that they'd figured out, and Stetcher was playing great, and John Klingberg was playing great, and Evan Bouchard, obviously, to that point, was the best defenseman of the postseason, and everything kind of changed, and maybe it's because of who they were playing, but this series, there were a lot of moments, and especially as it went on, in games 5 and 6, Ekholm was bad. In game 6, Bouchard was horrible. Stetcher was unplayable in game 4. Just I don't want to say their defense turned into a pumpkin, but it turned into something that it wasn't against Vegas or Dallas.
Let me ask you this. 2 years in a row, you finished as runner-up. Is there an element of thinking we can't win this way? Like, are there look yourselves in the mirror and adjust over the offseason kind of takeaways that you take away? Or are you just saying, we're not going to play the Panthers every year, and maybe one of these years we'll be better off in terms of the path?
Yeah, I think that they would have won the Stanley Cup if they didn't play the Panthers. If you gave them any other NHL team, they would have won the Stanley Cup, I think. Right? Like, if, say, okay, we're bringing Colorado back. Boom, Colorado. Oilers beat that team. We're bringing Toronto back, which is who I thought they would play in the Cup final. Thanks a lot, Leafs. Win game 3, assholes. We're bringing Toronto back. Edmonton beats that team. They played a team that was unbelievable and better than them. And I think that we get into like this game of ascribing things to these teams, and it's like sometimes teams win because they're good. The Panthers were awesome. It does not mean the Oilers choked. And I saw after the game, we were doing the live stream, and there was just a lot of like hypocritical views of it. People were like, Panthers are a dynasty now. Oilers will never win. They're chokers. And I'm like, well, then the Panthers aren't a dynasty if they're beating chokers every year. I don't think that the Oilers are frauds. I don't think that the Panthers are getting Mickey Mouse wins because they're playing up against a bunch of losers. I think that only one team wins the Stanley Cup every year. And for the Oilers, they've come painfully close to doing it twice. they came a lot close. I thought that they were a lot closer. Obviously, they played more games. I thought it was a lot closer last year than it was this year. Last year, they were running the Panthers out of the building in multiple games. I never felt that the Oilers were running the Panthers out of the building. Maybe in the second period of Game 4, but that's nothing like what was going on in Games 4 and 6 last year.
They were the ones who got ran out of the building multiple times in this series. And it, as this series went along, you got the sense that, like, oh boy, they are getting fucking smoked. I mean, 9-0 in the first periods over the last 4 games of the series, which is crazy. And
they led after one regulation period in this entire series. They led after one of 18 regulation periods. The Panthers led in 13 of 18 regulation periods. The team that should have won. And the team that should have won by a couple of games. And they should have won by a couple of games.
And I also think that that's true, and the Panthers were dominant, but the Oilers were deeply disappointing to close out this series. Deeply disappointing in the way that they could not score, in the way that they kind of just like fell apart at the seams, looked completely unstable at a lot of points. Like the way that they came undone, in what game was it where it was the blowout and the Panthers clearly just were breaking them and
laughing at them.
And in hindsight, I know that the Oilers evened up the series the following game, but like maybe they did break them a little bit in that game, because it did not look the same from after game 2, like starting with game 3 where they got completely dismantled. It never looked the same as it did in the first 2 games of the series.
I think that you could have put like a dog cone, that thing? You could put one of those in front of Sergei Bobrovsky. And I don't think an Oilers player
he didn't see an Oiler for the rest of the series.
If Bob had one of those on,
because you can't see in your peripherals.
Yeah, he would not have seen a shot that faced him, because that's where they all came from. And pucks would come off, and then he would kick it out right in front of him, and he would still not see an Oiler because they would not come to him. So that is unbelievable defending from Paul Maurice's group, but that's also a failure on the Oilers' part. So
definitely,
like I don't want to go so far as to, because then like I don't want to disrespect the Panthers and be like, well, the Oilers didn't show up for this one, because then it's like, all right, so the Panthers didn't play very well. No, and the Panthers were awesome, and the Oilers were very good at parts of this series, but they were the second best team.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you say a team didn't show up, it kind of presents the element of like they didn't care. I absolutely, if anybody wants to say that the Oilers didn't care, like, you're an idiot. And a lot of the times the Panthers make a team look like they don't care, because that's just how they make it look. And we've seen it at several points during the course of the series, or in the course of the series. But I also think that the Oilers were definitely capable of more, and you can definitely be disappointed by how slow they were to start games, how unprepared they looked at certain points. And yeah, I think a lot of that is on Chris Knobloch, and a credit to Paul Maurice, who's just has his team always ready to go.
Okay, the season is over, but we're not done. We still have daily episodes, so make sure you are subscribed to What Chaos on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like this video and just spread everything you see. We'll have another episode on, what is today now? Wednesday. We'll have another reaction episode Wednesday, another one Thursday, and we'll be looking to the offseason, but obviously sinking our teeth into this Stanley Cup final. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll talk to you soon.
We all sitting like the mayor.
Are we making too big of a deal of it? No, because the NHL is making a big deal of it. You're starting to see them publicly put some pressure here, and they've voiced concerns for a while about this arena construction.
Let's bring in our friend Emily Kaplan from ESPN. Have not chatted with Emily in a minute, so we're so glad she's returned to the show. Hello, Emily.
What's up, friends? How are you?
Great. We've loved your reporting on the shrinking rinks in Italy right now. Do you think that we're making too big a deal of it? Do you think that it's actually something that could cause players to say, fuck this, let's not do it? Or is it worth saying, hey, there's only so much space for these boys, keep the size right?
Okay, you threw out the F-bomb, so thank you for full permission to curse on your show. I love it. As a Disney employee, we enjoy opportunities like this. I don't think there's anything that could get these players to say, fuck it, I'm not going. Like, I honestly am trying to wrap my head around what would prevent these guys who are so desperate to play in the Olympics for so long, who have asked for it, who have campaigned for it, who were sure to get that as one of the sticking points in the new CBA, and then being like, oh, no, no, we're not going because the specifications of the rink aren't right. Like, no effing chance, no fucking chance.
How many?
Are we making too big of a deal of it? No, because the NHL is making a big deal of it. You're starting to see them publicly put some pressure here, and they've voiced concerns for a while about this arena construction, and they've been very clear. We are guests. We are partners of this event. We are not the host. From my understanding, they have offered several times to the Italians, the organizers, the IHF, the IOC, like, hey, look, like, we're the best in the world. We've put on bubbles. We've put on outdoor games. Like, we are the experts at rinks. Allow us to help you. And to my knowledge, they've kind of declined. This thing about the size, yeah, it's pretty significant. 3 feet. No one was really expecting that. I think that there were maybe some understanding that this was something that was agreed to over the summer, and like, how is the NHL only finding out about it now? There's definitely some kind of disconnect there. But I will say this. NHL players have played on rinks that are different sizes. Like, we just played the Global Series in Sweden. Avicii Arena, best name for an arena of all time, in Stockholm, has different dimensions than an NHL rink. And the solution there was just moving the lines around to account for that missing space in the neutral zone rather than either offensive zone. And so I think that's probably the solution that we're going to look at here.
Chat is swearing so much right now. They're
yeah.
just saying swears. They're so excited that we get to swear on this. If they did not find this out, do you think that the players would have figured out after playing a game or two that it's too small?
You think Nathan McKinnon has never not noticed anything going on in a hockey arena or in a hockey situation? Yeah, like, these guys, Sidney Crosby probably would have been the better example there, are so detail oriented. There's some of them that are such hockey nerds. Yeah, I think they would have noticed. And I think the other thing about this that maybe people don't realize is, one, it happens every Olympics. Like, no, it should not have gone to this point where we're not going to have a test event until a month before opening ceremonies or puck drop on the men tournament, less than a month before the women's tournament begins. But like, it kind of feels like this happens at every Olympics. There's always some kind of issue, some kind of delay. And the players have been warned, both by the federations and the Players Association, like, we know you guys want to go to the Olympics, but just so you know, like, it's going to be very different than the accommodations you're used to as NHL players. Team Canada, Team USA, they're going to be staying in the Village. That's not the 5-star hotels that they are used to on the road. It's more like a dorm style thing. The locker rooms, from what I understand, it's going to be a bit like the Arizona State situation. I heard mobile trailer adjacent to the arena. Have to walk on a rubber mat with your skates to get inside. So things that are just, not necessarily NHL standards, but again, none of this is going to deter players. They've been desperate for an event like this. It's why so much focus is on the Olympics right now, is that's all the guys care about. They care about winning the Stanley Cup, but this is the first more immediate goal, and nothing is going to stop them from playing and us getting really good hockey.
Bill Daly said yesterday, quote, to Matt Larkin, said, when asked about like what's the actual percentage chance NHLers don't go to the Olympics, he said, depends on the percentage you want to place on the possibility the rink doesn't get completed. If there's no rink completed, there's no NHL players going to the Olympics. Is there any chance that they don't finish this goddamn rink?
Yeah, I think there is a chance. Also, I love the way that Bill Daly speaks. You can so tell he's a lawyer. This feels like a logic game in the LSAT. I'm going to speak for myself. I never took the LSAT, but I understand there's some kind of logic games here. I'm like, what am I missing? What word is, leaving a little bit of room for interpretation here? There's a chance this rink doesn't get finished because it's not finished yet. And from what I understand, when the NHL went over there last month, they sent a contingent. They're like, okay, we see progress, but y'all better get going here. Like, you need to speed things up. So I think that's just them applying some public pressure to the organizers here and to the Italians of like, please, like, we need to see something tangible, because we know how desperate everyone is for NHL players to be there. And nobody wants a situation where they don't go at all. And everyone's been so clear there is no plan B.
How responsible is the Olympics for how many injuries we've seen in the NHL so far this season, whether it's due to the compressed schedule or whether it's just an abundance of precaution to make sure that guys will be available in early in 2026?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt that the Olympics is dictating what we're seeing on the ice right now. Yes, the compressed schedule, everybody's talking about it. And it's hard because so much of this is anecdotal. I think at the end of the season, we'll have to like take a really good look at what happened over these few months and how it differentiates from what we typically see. But nobody would say this out loud. But with a lot of these guys who are injured and sitting out, maybe the decision to get surgery earlier rather than wait on it and try to play through. It's all dictated to when can I be available? When can I be rested? And again, nothing is fucking keeping me from the Olympics. I just want to keep cursing for you guys.
Love
This
it.
is unbelievable. What's your favorite swear?
Fuck.
What's your favorite slur?
Bitch ass is pretty good too. God,
bitch ass is
over
good.
here.
What's your favorite thing to call someone who you think is being stupid? I think that there's one that
Oh,
is
a
just
donkey for sure. That's
Donkey?
a Ray Ferraro special.
donkey, great.
Bozo.
Bozo's up there. Bozo's kind of a specialty one. It's just the
Bozo's
classic.
good.
Idiot.
It just
Idiot is the
evokes so much
Snickers
imagery of a
bar.
clown.
What's that?
Yeah, it just evokes a lot of good imagery, like of a clown.
Clown.
Yeah, I like
if someone
Bozo.
actually says like this fucking clown, I think that that's like a little mean. Bozo is you're trying to kind of capture a vibe that's I think fun for everyone. But idiot to me is the Snickers bar of calling someone a name. It's just going to work. It's like the clown. Do you not like Snickers bars?
No, I do. I'm totally undervalued idiot, clearly.
Like if you call someone a fucking idiot, if you're
That
like,
one
oh,
hurts.
that's fucking
It
idiots. Donkey's good though. Shout out Ray Ferraro.
Yeah, Ray would be pretty proud of me for nobody here is a donkey, but we know plenty of donkeys and we could talk about them all offline.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to ask you about this. We talked about it a little yesterday. The offseason was so boring. There was like free agency is going to be nuts, and then all the team players signed before free agency, so it wasn't nuts. And then people said, oh, there's going to be trades, and that's going to be nuts. And we were like, are there going to be trades? Because teams aren't going to want to trade their 2026 first-round picks because they're going to be worried about Gavin McKenna and Keaton Verhoff, and they're going to be cautious to not do anything to potentially screw that up. I think that like every team, with the exception of the Panthers, who traded for Seth Jones, good trade, they won the Stanley Cup, has been cautious in that regard. But a lot of teams, be it the Sharks or the Blackhawks, that we thought were going to be mid to bad, are kind of mid to good. So do you think that any plans change now that teams know we could actually get into the playoffs here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I always wonder about the draft class impact on how general managers make their decision. And I sometimes think it's overvalued. I think that there's a lot of discourse about Gavin McKenna, and I'm so happy to get into it because I am a Penn Stater. I did get out to Pagula Arena recently, so I have some on the ground, on the boots ground reporting, or whatever that big J journalism phrase is. But in terms of this year's draft class, like, yes, number one might be a bit debatable, but again, I'll give you my opinion there in a second, or what I've heard. But I also understand that it's a really deep first round in general. I heard that 5 to 7, especially, like if you're picking in that range, you can get some really good picks. And it's also a really strong draft class in terms of defensemen. And so because of that, yeah, maybe there's no Bedard or Celebrini or singular guy that you know is going to be a transcendent star, but nobody banks on like really the lottery odds anyway, because you know that even if you finish in last place, there's a very good chance you're not going to get it. And so I think just knowing how deep the rest of the first round, perhaps that influences some teams from not wanting to give up this year's pick. But in general, I just think that because the league is wide open right now, specifically in the East, more teams are waiting longer to throw in the towel than they would in years past.
What are your Gavin McKenna thoughts?
Oh, well, thank you so much for asking. So kind of you. So yeah, I just feel like I went to Penn State. It was their weekend series against Michigan. They got whooped on Friday night. Did not attend that game. Went to the Saturday doubleheader with the Penn State women, who crushed Syracuse 11-2. Shout out to my women Nittany Lions there. And then the men. So if anyone has not watched college hockey recently, holy cow, it has increased the intensity level significantly, even in the last 2 to 3 years. What people don't realize was when Gavin McKenna is playing in the WHL, they play double the amount of games. So NCAA hockey being 50% of the schedule, guys are going balls out every single game. The intensity level is wild. And so the discourse by the time I got there that weekend, he had just played a weekend series in Michigan State, and people are starting to say, oh, he kind of looks like a perimeter player. He can't get inside. Effort's an issue. We don't see him back checking. And I just think it's a really insane adjustment for a teenager to go from the WHL to go to this environment. And I think that it's going to prepare him the best for the NHL. And I know that there's a lot of people saying, okay, I'm not going to get it because I think it's going to be such a hard decision. I'm not going to get it because I think it's going to be such a hard decision. But I still think that if you're a general man, sitting here today with all the information that I know, it is going to be
Then a league like the time you hear about Caleb Williams forever, and by the time
plenty of Caleb Williams takes for you.
you hear about Caleb Williams in the second round, and it turns out like no.
Plenty of Caleb Williams takes for you.
Out is a guy who in the second round, and it turns out like no. David, unbelievable. Out is a guy who.
What you're saying?
I
do you think the hockey game?
David, unbelievable.
Out there for them to identify him at that young age.
What you're saying? Do you think
Connor
that is true? I also think that part of it is like it is so much easier to script an offense around a football player than it is script a hockey game around a hockey player.
Yeah.
So that I think that's why it
it's a good
applies more
point.
in football.
And that would be the other Gavin point, and I'm so with you. Like, look, this kid's from the Yukon. Like, he's way out there. For them to identify him at that young age, that he is that skilled, and he is that skilled, says something about his talent level, and I have no doubt that he's going to be an NHL star. He looks a little perimeter right now. Maybe he looks like the game is just a little too intense. He doesn't have that inside. He's a teenager playing in what is an insanely physical NCAA hockey. Like, he will grow into this. But I think the Bedard conversation is perfect because I also think that we judge these guys way too quickly. And, like, remember the conversations about Bedard after his second year? Like, oh, God, like, is he a butt? He looks a little, imagine when he finally fills out into this.
We've been big on, do you know what a fallow year is?
Like, is he a butt?
Fallow year.
Imagine when he finally fills out.
The soil and everything just kind of replenish, and it happens. I only know it because of the Glastonbury Festival. They skip it every few years because they don't want people walking on the grounds because it takes such a beating because of this festival. We've been big on, do you know what a fallow year is? We're not doing Glastonbury. Fallow year every year, the soil and every show again because they don't want that. And we're not doing Glastonbury. And they go from there. And we've kind of kicked around the idea of the Panthers at some point having a fallow year where they're like, we make a run to the Cup final every year. And it does take a toll. So one of these years, we're just going to kind of skip it. And then the next year, we'll put on the show again. And the next year, we'll put on the show again. And particularly I was very excited about this idea because we got to talk about Glastonbury. But the Panthers have looked like they're kind of doing that. And part of it is because of injury. Part of it is because it's tough to win games in the NHL. But a very high pick as a result of this fallow year. This has been very long and convoluted, but like 16 teams though are also in the conversation of like, are they having a fallow year? A step back, and in the end, do you think the Panthers are the station
just because of
step back, and in the end,
just because of it just doesn't tie that they're up against a salary. It just doesn't Howard now Ike Howard that they're up against a salary. Howard, I think that's my Howard now Ike Howard. All of this is to say like I'm just kind of Howard. I think that's my whole lines. You knew that they were going to have so. All of this is to say like I'm just kind of surprised that it's been this big of a dud. The Panthers. All lines. You knew that they were going to have so much of Barkov. At the same time, sustain this. And my only argument is. On the season, Shand or Seth Jones, for different reasons.
Not to brag. The Chicago Blackhawks, just at some point, a team's going to be able. We had a big celebration, and can tell us, and the way
proves what we all knew, which is that Brad Marchand is the biggest kook in the entire league. Proves what we all knew, which is that Brad's going to look like by the time the playoffs roll around.
So if you had to
and I think goaltending. I think like nothing out there I think is appreciably better than who he is. I just think Bob, I know he's played a lot of hockey lately, being able to turn that dial, and I just think there's like nothing out there I think is
no one else is saying it.
being able to turn that dial, and I just think there's
no one else is saying it. Last because the ice.
Oh,
It's because the ice.
you're punny. I'm very short too. I have to stand on.
Ice.
Oh,
Always.
you're punny. I'm very short too. I have to stand on. Right? Does this mean?
Always video. Please subscribe to what?
Right? Does this mean?
Video. Please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get YouTube. Hit subscribe.
I really like Sam Bennett as a player. I really like Sam Bennett as an asshole. I really like what he can bring to a culture. I really like what he can bring to a team. Unfortunately, he is not a $10 million player.
Sam Bennett tied with Mikko Rantanen for the postseason lead with 9 goals. He's got 51 points this regular season, which is a career high, turning 29 before July 1. Only has 1 season with 50 points, 3-time 20-goal scorer, including 25 this year. This is somebody who has thrived with Florida. And yesterday, the conversation as he kept scoring became, how much is he actually going to get? AFP Analytics says 6 times 6.37 million AAV. Marty Biron yesterday said that he can get 10 plus million AAV on the open market because
Cap's going up.
And EJ Raddick says, from what I'm hearing, there's at least one team willing to hit that number for Sam Bennett. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God is right.
Yeah.
Sean, are you shaking in your boots?
A little bit, because I don't know, maybe it's just a coincidence, but it doesn't seem like a coincidence that Marty Biron is the one saying that they could get 10 million plus. And then you're seeing that only one team is going to be the one that offer that.
I'd be
and
worried.
Marty Biron happens to work for a team that's desperate for some kind of culture shift and an edgier, tough-nosed player. I'm terrified. Sounds like the Buffalo Sabres want to overpay Sam Bennett.
That seems like something that they would do.
Yes, it does.
And I'll tell you what, just because you have the money does not mean that you need to or should spend the money. And I like Sam Bennett as a player. I really like Sam Bennett as a player. I really like Sam Bennett as an asshole. I really like what he can bring to a culture. I really like what he can bring to a team. Unfortunately, he is not a $10 million player.
He's
absolutely not even close.
Everything the Sabres need, minus the $10 million price tag.
How can they get close, though? Because he needs to stay in Florida. If I'm Sam Bennett,
He doesn't need to.
I really want to stay in Florida to continue being what I'm being. I know this is a high draft pick. I am not positive that Sam Bennett, who has 50 points in his career one time.
Although if you were to ask Matthew Tkachuk, it probably has happened more than that.
Yes. Oh my God. Did you guys see that after the
Straight
game?
up lied.
Jackie
Straight up lied.
with Matthew Tkachuk is like, is
He-
Carter Verhaeghe a little underappreciated around the league? And he was like, well, he scored 40 goals a bunch of times. I don't know how people could. And I was like, Carter Verhaeghe scores 40 goals all the time? I was shocked. I was like, oh, damn, he even did it once.
He did it once.
Yeah, what?
He did it once. And then, to be fair, he had 34 goals in 76 games the next season.
Distinctly
But
not
he has
40,
certainly
though.
not been a multiple-time 40-goal scorer.
Okay.
Unless you count the playoffs, too.
This is a center, Sam Bennett, who has 50 points once in his career. Everybody, I don't care if the cap is going up, do not give him $10 million. I want Sam Bennett to still be a good, I don't want to say good story because everyone hates him, but like, I don't want to just go straight to like albatross of a contract. There already is a storyline and a summary and narration with Sam Bennett. I don't want it to just be that he's David Clarkson. Don't do that. Let the thing be that he's an asshole.
Yeah, like don't let the contract control the narrative around the player.
Bingo, Peter.
And again, the Buffalo Sabres, he's primed to be the next one of those Buffalo Sabres, the Jack Eichel, Taylor Hall, just like guy that not Jack Eichel, but Taylor Hall, like guy that they spent money on that just it didn't work out. And then they look back on it and Sabres fans hate him because of management's mistakes.
I think that Sam Bennett, knowing that there are not income taxes in Florida, Bennett, who has a cap projection or a contract projection, I'm sorry, as I said, from AFP Analytics, who they nail these, says 6 years times $6.37 million AAV. Fudge the years and the term however you want. Do $8 million.
That's as high as I would go.
I'd
if
sign
you're
up for
any
that.
team, right?
Yes.
And if I'm the Panthers, I know it works. And by it in works, I mean 45, 50 points a year. Not great.
And that's on the Panthers.
Yes, that's where it is perfect for him.
You're right. But I'm saying like on a very good team that produces offensively, he's like maxing out at 50 points. So what does he look like? Maybe in a bigger role, he gets his points, but like, I think you're kind of seeing what you're going to get from Sam Bennett.
People in the chat are throwing out suggestions for who could pay him. We've talked about them. Somebody says LA. Does LA want to? LA has some bad experience with overpaying centers.
They do.
They got out of it last time. I don't know if they would get out of Sam Bennett making way too much money.
I don't know. I feel like Sam Bennett getting out of a Sam Bennett contract seems easier than getting out of a PLD contract. Because at the very least, you can be like a team you can sell a team on being like, he hasn't lost the grit. He can be that for you.
But in order to sign him, you're probably going to need to give him a no movement clause on every year attached to it.
Right. PLD signed that as an RFA. He didn't have rights yet.
Good point.
Bennett, big rights guy in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He stands his ground.
That's true. He certainly does. And he goes onto your property sometimes and shoots you.
So he's got to stay in Florida. And that's disrespectful to Sam Bennett to slap him with the stay where you are tag, because I just don't know what it looks like somewhere else. I don't think that he becomes a horrible player somewhere else, but he's not what this is perfect for him. I saw someone saying that the Panthers would have to do the internal cap thing with him. Like, you can't pay him more than Matthew Tkachuk because he's not even close to as good a player as Matthew
Definitely.
Tkachuk.
And I also think that you have to, if you're Florida, you have to bring to the table the fact that the better players on the team have taken hometown discounts and have taken pay cuts. And you kind of have to convince him to do that as well. And maybe the no state income tax thing helps you in that regard. I do want to say, like, off Sam Bennett, I had a real moment of panic last night after the game when they interviewed Sam Bennett on TNT, because I thought for sure that he was having a medical episode, and I was freaking out because he was doing the interview with TNT, and as soon as he would start talking, he would slow down, and like you could see his brain sort of like look like it was short circuiting, and he would lose his train of thought, and he would just trail off and be like, yeah. And it was like he was talking in slow motion. And then after 5 minutes, he revealed that he was getting feedback in his headphones, and that's why he couldn't speak. And I let out the biggest sigh of relief because I thought this guy was having a stroke.
I at no point was I concerned about a medical emergency, but I did have the distinct thought where I was like, damn, Sam Bennett is like nervous. It was like, I was like, as a guy who's known for being such like a gritty, like he'll fuck you up kind of guy, he seems like he is very terrified to be in front of a camera right now. And then, he admitted that it was because at the end of it, he kind of like once he had revealed the problem, he seemed very loose.
Yeah,
and finally,
for sure.
like, okay, fine. But yeah, it was very odd. It was a very odd interview.
I had like that sort of thought too, where I was like, oh damn, like he's like a hockey savant.
Weakness.
Like he is a complete different personality on the ice versus off the ice. Off the ice, he's like shy and scared. And
I was like,
Sean
completely changes my thoughts.
Yeah, Sean had my estimation of Sam Bennett as a man just plummeted.
It's like definitely not paying that guy $10 million.
Shout out Phil Lee. Can't pay that guy. He's soft. Okay.
We all silly like the mayor.
My favorite like under discussed storyline is Trent Frederick versus Matthew Tkachuk. Give me your favorite storyline about this Stanley Cup final. And that can be the rematch, that can be the goalies, that can be the depth, that can be this guy versus that guy, that can be Knobloch doing his thing. What is it?
Genuinely, it's the rematch. Like, the rematch to me holds so much weight because last year's Cup final was so good. And both these teams getting better, having it gone 7 games and being decided essentially on, what do you say, like one play in Game 7?
Yeah, Brett Kulak turnover, bad goal given up by Stu, and there you have it.
Like, that to me, I don't know if there was a Stanley Cup final possible in this bracket based off of the way the teams were playing that would excite me more than the one that we've got.
who are you more surprised to see get there? I think that everybody would say that they're more surprised to see the Oilers get there.
Definitely.
But as the postseason went along, I would say I'm more surprised the Panthers got there, given that the Panthers were down 0-2 in the second round against the team that like really could have and maybe should have beaten them.
Could have said the exact same thing about the Oilers in the first round.
Yeah, one happened later though.
Yeah, which
I'm saying like by the time like so second round, Oilers are rolling past teams. Panthers are down 0-2 and trailing in game 3.
Yeah, I guess I would just I look at it happened earlier with the Oilers. Yeah, they gained momentum, but they had really tough opponents in the next 2 rounds too. Just because like they steamrolled through them, like I'm not going to do revisionist history. I was worried about the Oilers in both of those series. So like I am surprised that the Oilers are not only here again, but they're here again looking so dominant. I would not have expected that. And just kind of like without Matthias Ekholm, only having gotten 1 game from him, I'm very surprised that the Oilers are here. And I just think that based off of where we're at right now, we can say very emphatically these are the 2 best teams in the league.
Okay, my favorite like under discussed storyline is Trent Frederick versus Matthew Tkachuk. And I don't know how much they're going to be on the ice against each other, but if you don't know the story, Trent Frederick grew up playing hockey in the Tkachuk's basement. And there were a bunch of future NHLers just throwing each other into the walls, injuring each other, bleeding, whole thing, going to the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. We had Trent Frederick on the show earlier in the season when he was on the Bruins, and we talked about that a little bit. And he was a little kind of cagey about it. And then in the first game of the season, Matthew Tkachuk tricked Trent Frederick into dropping his gloves. Do you remember that?
Yep, I sure do.
Said, let's go. Frederick dropped his gloves, and Matthew Tkachuk like told on him, and Trent Frederick took a penalty, and Matthew Tkachuk didn't. After the game, Trent Frederick said that he thought that was disrespectful to the sport of hockey, and a couple of days later said, that guy's not my friend.
Yeah, right. That's the big thing. People are gonna. I wonder if people are gonna make this into like these 2 guys grew up together. They're great friends. It doesn't seem like they, at least from Trent Frederick's standpoint, he doesn't really like Matthew Tkachuk.
That would be the best case scenario, though, if you kept being like, Trent, I know you love this guy. You go way back, and he kept on having to be like, yeah, totally love that guy.
Yeah, don't let anybody trick you into believing that these guys are friends. I don't think Trent Frederick likes Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the exact quote. It was everywhere, and I feel like it got scrubbed from the internet. But basically, he said, I think that I can't find it, but he basically said, maybe when we're done playing, we'll reconcile and have some sort of friendship. Respectfully, I know that Trent Frederick didn't use the word reconcile, but he said like maybe when we're done playing, we'll kind of clean it all up, but right now I can't stand him.
I will say Matthew Tkachuk kind of has the energy of a kid who like bullied kids in high school and then shows up to the class reunion 10 years later and nobody likes him and he's like, fucking, what's that about? I don't like, we were all boys back in the day. We were just hanging out. And meanwhile, he was just actually beating the shit out of everybody and no one liked him.
Okay, here's the quote I have. If they don't want to fight, there's not much you can do about it. That's kind of the bummer part of it. It makes it more frustrating in that sense. We sure were, in quotes, in parentheses, I'm sorry, friends. I grew up with him since I was probably 5, but yeah, it's probably been different the last couple of years. But yeah, we're family friends. It's business. I don't really care. Maybe when our careers are over, we can have a reconciliation. There you go. But right now, I can't stand him. I love that. I love that somehow Oilers Panthers is Tkachuk versus Frederick. That would have blown minds a couple of years ago.
Definitely. And I think Bruins fans are going to say it's Frederick Marchand. It's not. I feel like those guys, like, I don't know if
they
Brad
might not
Marchand,
have met each other.
Yeah, right.
Brad doesn't seem like he would spend a lot of time thinking about Trent Frederick. Now that they're not together, like,
yeah,
he probably didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it when they were on the same team, and now he definitely doesn't.
And yeah, I don't know, maybe. Like I thought it was interesting when the Panthers were playing the Maple Leafs. I thought that Marchand against Carlo was really interesting.
Well, those guys are like really good friends.
Right. And Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is how much do they end up playing against each other. And I won't get into breaking down matchups, but I do think that like line matching in this series is going to be super interesting because the Panthers don't like, what is their line that you have to sick the Draisaitl line against? I think that more of it is like the Panthers are the team that matches up to try to negate Leon Draisaitl than they have that super potent offensive line that Knobloch has to put Draisaitl against. Like, I think that ideally, Maurice has Barkov against McDavid, and then cool, what are you matching Draisaitl against? You know what I'm saying? Like, there isn't like a line of like 3 amazing scorers that you need to worry about negating. It's just like a bunch of lines that play really hard.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably why this matchup is so interesting again for the second year in a row, is because you've got shutdown guys on Florida side, famously 2 guys who were nominated for the Selke. One of them just won it in Barkov, and 2 of the best offensive players in the world. And I know that Leon Draisaitl has more emphasized the defensive aspect of his game in this stretch run of the playoffs, but seeing the ice time that you're going to get and the matchups that you're going to get is something definitely to keep an eye on. I also think big juice for me in this series is Stuart Skinner versus Sergei Bobrovsky again. And the stew of it all is always fascinating, but with him playing so well right now, I said this before the show, I think from a personal standpoint, maybe outside of McDavid, who just like very much needs that first cup to enter into the, okay, now we can talk about legacy. Now we can talk about the GOAT discussion fully. There might not be a single person on an individual level with more at stake here than Stuart Skinner.
I mean, I think that that's fair. I think that you do have to take it's once you take McDavid out of it. Like, I don't think that there are huge personal reputations online. I do think, and I love this this is my favorite person in hockey other than Pete and Sean. I do think like Brad Marchand going to a bunch of Stanley Cups and losing them is a kind of interesting thing, but we're gonna talk about a guy going to a bunch of Stanley Cups and losing them and not have that discussion about Corey Perry. Yeah,
like he is the losing the Stanley Cup final guy.
Yes, but different parts of their careers is
he wasn't.
And maybe I'm just biased because when you say that, I'm like, yeah, but that's Corey Perry, even though Corey Perry is like a Hall of Famer.
But for the Marchand thing,
and he's done a lot of it like riding shotgun, and this is the first time that Brad Marchand has gone to a Stanley Cup not being the driver.
That's what I was going to say. Like, he is more of a hired gun at this point, so I don't know how much really that would affect his legacy so much. But like when I say Stuart Skinner, it's like on one hand, you're going to have, if he wins, that changes the discussion around Stuart Skinner forever, whether it's fair or not. People still hype up Darcy Kemper as a Stanley Cup winning goaltender when the Colorado Avalanche largely won despite Darcy Kemper in that playoff run. And I just think that it changes the conversation specifically around goaltenders, because a lot of the times it's difficult to know how to talk about goaltenders and how to evaluate goaltenders. So when you see one win a Stanley Cup, that sticks in your mind. Yeah, and it's something that you attach to them forever. Whereas, say Stu has an average or a bad Stanley Cup final here. Say he even has a good Stanley Cup final and the Oilers lose. Whether it's fair or not in this case too, the conversation attached to him will be, I don't think they can win with this guy.
Stu had an .899 save percentage in the Stanley Cup final last year, which, like, would you say that's like not very good? Like
at this
below
point,
average?
it's about average.
Okay, cool. Because that was Bob's save percentage in the Stanley Cup final. Stu had a .909 save percentage in the Stanley Cup final last year. Stu was the better goalie in the Stanley Cup final last year. And I know that I'm not yelling it at you guys. I'm yelling it at the earth that you can win with him and you can win with players much worse than him. You don't need a guy to stand on his head to win the Stanley Cup.
The much worse than him is tough, because when Stu is bad, he's unusable.
So I'm saying like much worse than 909, and I'm sure that, I mean, you mentioned Darcy Kemper. There are goalies who have won the Stanley Cup. Matt Murray, who are not amazing players. They were the goalie for a Stanley Cup winning team.
Yeah, but
and
Matt
when
Murray
people
was
say
playing
that
well.
guy won't win the Stanley Cup, like it's not like you go up to the Stanley Cup store and you don't like that guy has the cash to do it and that guy doesn't. Like you go, you perform, you play on a team.
Yeah, but the Matt Murray thing is different because Matt Murray was playing well when he won a Stanley Cup for the Penguins. Like I don't think you have to have a great goalie to win a Stanley Cup.
Definitely not. Proven.
But a lot of the times you need a goalie who is playing well. And
they did last year and they didn't.
No, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like if Stu is playing well, they can definitely win with him. I think that we've all kind of acknowledged that. They went to a game 7 of a Stanley Cup final against a really good team with Stu. But I just think that the narrative that's going to be attached to him, especially if he doesn't play particularly well or doesn't play as well as he did last year, it's really, really going to hold a stink to him, I think.
Okay. If he has a .909 save percentage, do you think the Oilers win the Stanley Cup? Skinner.
If he has one this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big thing there, the obvious response is, well, what's Bob's save percentage? Like if Bob is a .930.
I think if you repeat the performances from last year, the Oilers probably win the Stanley Cup.
A billion
I would
percent
agree
is the
with
answer to that.
But
Yes.
The thing about the performances last year is that I don't.
You can't really
correct
take
me
them
if
in
I'm
a
wrong.
vacuum.
Did Stu steal games last year? Because you can say with certainty that
Right.
Bobrovsky stole game 1, which ended up being the difference in the series, and he was really good in game 7.
Right.
Like so that ends up making the difference there.
I'd say I guess not necessarily alternatively, but like the Oilers are also better defensively. So like in theory, Stu could be worse, and the Oilers could still be more successful because the Oilers outside of Stu, I think, are a better team.
I'll summarize the goalie thing and say that last year, the guy with the better numbers lost. That can happen again.
Well, I was going to say about the
Bob
Yeah,
can be
right.
better and the Oilers can win, or Stu can be better and the Panthers can win, like last year.
What I was going to say about the Kemper comparison is that it's interesting because I feel like the conversation around Kemper is like, look, the Avs won the cup with fucking Darcy Kemper, and then Darcy Kemper was out of Colorado the next year. So like, I wonder if there's a situation where Stu is like okay, and then that becomes the conversation where they're like, they won with average goaltending, even if Stu was like good or is good, he ends up becoming a victim of like being fine on a really good team.
Worth noting, both of these goalies right now in an absolute zone. And you can say, yeah, one had to do it against better players, but the numbers stand. .935 save percentage and a shutout for Bob in the conference final against Carolina. .924 save percentage and a shutout against the Stars in the conference final for Stuart Skinner. So this is both goalies. And I believe like Bob was not unbelievable going into the Cup final last year. Actually, no. He had good numbers going into the Cup final last year and then like would have won the Conn Smythe, but gave up a million goals.
We're facing some allegations from chat saying that Darcy Kemper sucks. We never said Darcy Kemper sucked. It said that Darcy Kemper wasn't really that great during the Colorado Avalanche run, which he wasn't. I believe in like a sub 900 save percentage.
I mean,
which
that's
rarely,
why he wasn't an Av after.
Huh?
I said that's why he wasn't an Av.
And
after
I
that
mean,
cup.
I think respectfully, you don't need a great goalie to win the Stanley Cup argument doesn't even need more than like if you need to spend more than 10 seconds on that mentally, you're out of your mind. Like it's just true.
Yeah.
You don't need a great goalie.
I mean, it's a
you need a play.
it's you would prefer a great
it's
goalie.
a team sport. It's literally any sport. I mean, with the exception of maybe like you probably need a great quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Like you can suffer having okay pitching if your bats are fucking insane.
And when the two players that we're talking about were 899 and 909 or whatever it was, like those are definitely good enough, especially considering the guy with the sub 900 won.
Yeah.
So, but you never know. Like Bob fades as some of these series go on. Stu gets better as some of these series go on. I think that something to watch for certainly is like, does Stu have a clunker in one of the first two games?
That was the other thing I was going to say is a 909 could look very different if he has like a 40 save shutout performance, then gives up 5 goals on 8 shots in the next game.
Yeah,
right.
true.
Does he have a Stuart Skinner 909?
Yeah, we're talking
which is
small
exactly
sample
that.
size
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Another one, depth. Who do you think has better forward depth? Crazy to say because you would think. Actually, I don't know what you would think. What would you think and what would you say? All right, it's a tough one at least then.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say Florida, but I also would have said Dallas in the Western Conference Final, and it's just Edmonton's depth just keeps showing up.
What makes me say Florida is that I can tell you their third line.
Right.
And granted, I can tell you the Oilers' third line, but when I say I'm like, I can tell you the Oilers' third line with the fucking best.
And you like Florida's third line has been their best line.
So that's what I'm saying. Like their third line has the like top 5 selling albums on the charts right now.
And then
you
you
know,
have,
like, and so that's great. Like Luosterainen and Marchand, unbelievable. However, if we want to peek into the numbers, 5 goal scorers. How many do you think Florida has?
I don't know.
That's a tough thing
You
to
love
kind
playing
of
this
frame.
game.
Yeah. Okay. 5. They have 5 players with 5 goals. Based off of that, now you have a frame of reference. How many do you think Edmonton has?
8.
8. And
What's the games played difference? They played one
and the
more game.
Panthers have played more games than the Oilers. So in
One
fewer
more?
games, yes. In fewer games, the Oilers have 3 more players who have scored 5 goals. Both of these teams have double-digit 3-goal scorers. Edmonton has 11. Florida has 12. So this series is just overflowing with players producing.
I would assume one of those, though, is Zach Hyman.
One of them is Zach Hyman.
So they have
But-
one less, I suppose.
So I guess 12 to 10. However, Jeff Skinner is getting to that number.
How many does
real quick.
Jesper Boquist have? Because that's what I was going to say. Is like he's kind of been. They just float him into top 6 spots, and he keeps showing up too. Because I saw he was skating for the Panthers today. I can't remember in whose place.
Jesper Boquist has 2 goals.
So yeah,
Gross.
he's another one where I'm
Pathetic. AJ Greer has 2 goals. Aaron Ekblad has 3 goals.
I was gonna
Shout
say,
out
he
the refs not tossing him from that. What was it? Game 4 against Florida? Game 3 against Florida?
How many goals does Nate Schmidt have? Because he went off in like the first.
Oh, yeah.
round.
No, Nate Schmidt has 3. Nate Schmidt will get you 3. Seth Jones will get you 3.
Oh yeah,
Brad Marchand will get you 4. Give me a player. I can do this.
Nico Mikkola.
Nico Mikkola? Oh, buddy. Nico Mikkola will get you 3. Give me some Oilers. This is what the show should be.
Yeah, for
Kasperi
sure.
Kapanen.
Kasperi Kapanen, he's getting you 3. He's getting you 3
Matthias
out the door.
Janmark.
Matthias Janmark's getting you 3. You know, I'll be honest. I rewatched Game 5 the other day. It was the best. Just fucking straight rewatched it.
Like of the Western Conference Final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just straight rewatch that shit. The
There you
Janmark
go.
goal.
We're doing reruns.
Amazing.
This guy needs more hockey.
You ask me about Evander Kane.
How many goals does Evander Kane have?
Evander Kane will get you 5 goals, and that's a big one. That is a storyline this series because not only do the Oilers have a bunch of guys who are scoring goals and the Panthers have a bunch of guys who are scoring goals, Oilers are shittier and tougher this year. And I'm not a big get shitty, get
Than they
tough
were
guy.
last year. Not
You
necessarily
better be a
than the
big
Then they
Panthers.
shitty
were-
get tough guy when you're talking about facing the Florida Panthers.
Yes, you at least have to like bring something to that party.
That's
and
what I
they
was
do
gonna
that this year because Evander Kane is healthy, playing really well. Trent Frederick is healthier. There have still been moments. I mean, I said after game 1 of the Western Conference Final, I was like, all right, guys, time to get Skinner back in. Take Trent Frederick out of the lineup. But he's a little shitty. He's a little tough. Evan Bouchard, we were talking before the show, gets choked out by Evan. Was it Evan Rodriguez?
No, Aaron Ekblad.
Oh, it was Ekblad.
Of course.
Roid Rage.
Yeah.
And we're saying like, oh man, like you got to show a little better than that. This year, does he get choked out again?
I don't know
I
if-
said he does. I said he doesn't get choked out again.
I think he can get choked out again. I don't know if he taps out this year because that was the big thing last year is that he tapped out or attempted to tap out against Ekblad. I don't know if he attempts to tap out. You said that he might be doing the choking this year.
Oh yes, that's what I said, and
Evan
I
Bouchard
stand by
will
that.
not be doing the choking.
I stand by that.
I said I think he could get choked again, but this time somebody does something about it.
He gave Hintz that little scare. Hintz was terrified when that stick came down.
I mean,
My foot.
yeah, Bush, I feel like he's the kid that gets bullied, so he picks on the only other kid that he can bully.
I think that he did learn the lesson that he cannot tap out last year.
And he also got yelled at and immediately stopped.
How much do you think Hyman not being there takes away from the shittiness? Because Hyman's very tough as far as he will go get the puck no matter what he has to do. This year, obviously, everyone very horny about the hit stats, but still not he's not a bruiser.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it more, to me, it more impacts like the actual play than it does the war after the whistles. Like, I honestly think, and we talked about this before the show, like Jeff Skinner, if he's playing, brings an element of being a pest.
Very sneaky shittiness
That's
on
what
that
I was
guy.
gonna say. I think my most interesting storyline is the grit on grit, just from top to bottom. Like everyone from Corey Perry to down and like Kachuk down, like all of it. I just think the shittiness of this series is going to be the most entertaining part.
We haven't talked about my number one storyline of this series. We're going to do it in a few minutes with the great Ray Ferraro. Mine, Oilers breakout versus Panthers forecheck. Those are two immovable objects. The former, the Oilers breakout, like we did not go into the postseason being like, what will teams ever do about this? They were more like, are they going to have to fucking play John Klingberg? Oh my God. Is Troy Stetcher going to play? And then it reaches a point where they're like, you can't take John Klingberg out of the lineup, but it's we'll ask Ferraro again, but like it's a work of art, and the Panthers forecheck is just a fucking nightmare. So that's going to be amazing.
We all silly like the mayor.